Everywhere we go, we investigate alleged evidence of Bigfoot's existence. Footprint casts invariably are human, animal tracks, or some natural indentation in the ground.
Pulling up into Tom's driveway,
Hey, guys.
Hello.
How's it going?
I see two good old boys. Baseball caps, a little bit of camo.
Hopefully they'll be able to offer some information that we can follow up on.
So we heard you guys got some tracks.
Yeah, we got some casts to show y'all.
That's huge.
Oh, yeah.
What is that, like a 17-incher?
Look at this one.
17.
That's the biggest one I've seen in the Midwest. And the first thing I'm thinking is, wow, these all look kind of different, and they have different sizes. That's what you would expect if they're getting real impressions. The guys who are gonna fake things are gonna have a whole bunch of casts that look all exactly the same. These look like they really found them in the woods and they cast them. You can see the foot shape in most of these, some better than others, and a few of them are just mind-blowing.
This first cast I got in April of 2012.
That one actually came out not far from behind my house.
Yeah. And it appeared like it might have slid on the side of the ridge. Considered, it would slide in the mud. Third one, we saw something standing behind a bush. But it was so thick back here, the vegetation was, we couldn't get back down there. Well, the next day, I got up and I said, well, I'm gonna take my four-wheeler and go back in there. I went back into that bush, and that's what I casted.
That's a beauty, man. I'd love to have one like that.
Well, the first thing that jumps out to me is the toe placement, of course. But Sasquatches have such flexibility in their feet that this configuration is fairly common in the data set of casts. I love that all 5 toes are visible. I mean, the last 2 are a little bit lost, but that pinky's not, which is really nice. And also, if you look very closely, the toes are actually impressed more deeply than the ball of the foot itself. All of these things are really nice indicators of a very likely real Sasquatch print. I can tell that Tom's been Bigfooting a long time because he casts footprints that most other Bigfooters wouldn't. And this one here is an excellent example. Most people would look at that and say, oh, there's nothing there. But he cast it, and it's a good thing he did, too, because right there on one of the toes, dermatoglyphics. Fancy word for fingerprints, basically. Primates have dermatoglyphics, and no other animal does. This thing was made by a primate.
Nothing about it throws red flags to me that these are faked.
And these are real. I mean, I was looking forward to Kentucky. This is better than I imagined.
Thanks,
you
guys.
guys.
Thank you guys for coming out.
Tom and Rodney were excellent witnesses, and they certainly had fantastic evidence. But before we head out for our first night investigation, we want to gather a little bit more intelligence about the area.
Nice.
So we're going to tap into Tom and Rodney's witness pool and invite them to a cool old building called Berry Hill Mansion. We're going to hear their stories, and hopefully a pattern will develop.
Howdy, y'all.
If you believe you have had a Bigfoot encounter, whether you have actually seen one or heard one or found prints or something like that, please be kind and raise your hand nice and high.
I had been at my friend's house, and we were outside standing on the back porch. On the other side of the tree line, I hear this. And I just froze. I'm like, what the hell is that? The hair is standing up on my arms. I mean, whatever it was spooked me that bad.
It was during the late fall. I was outside near my pond, skipping rocks, and I hear this grunting noise. So I stand up and turn around, and there's this big, black, brownish mass standing up over across the pond. I take a good long look at it, and I run back to the house.
I actually had a visual sighting not much farther than me to you guys. Okay, it was at 2 o'clock in the morning. I came out of my tent to relieve myself. Was standing there and just looked over. I saw something just moving back and forth, looking at me. But what I noticed was the smell. If you took an old dumpster that's in the middle of the summer and threw a dead deer in it, that's what it smelled like.
I had fallen asleep in my recliner with the TV on in my family room. And I woke up and I kind of glanced at the window beside my recliner and I saw something go like this. And I looked up and almost at the top of my window were these two amber, very shiny eyes looking down right at me.
Now we've got a plan after seeing all those sightings on the map. Cliff, Bobo, and Renee are gonna head generally northward up toward the Ohio River. There's a whole lot of sightings up there, but there's also a huge cluster down by Louisville. That's where I'm headed. I'm gonna camp out there for a few nights. Hopefully I'll get as much action as some of those witnesses are talking about.
It's just plain to see the clusters down here, which is fortunate for us because I have a surprise witness for us. This guy's actually got evidence, he's got hairs, and this dude's the biggest character in the state of Kentucky. Renee, you should come with me.
I should be nervous.
You should be a little bit nervous. Yeah, you'll like this dude. I got a little surprise for Renee because when we were down in Kentucky last time, folks who were talking to you down there told us about the greatest outdoorsman in Kentucky, a turtle man. He's famous for catching turtles, obviously, but he can catch anything. He's a true master of the woods and knows every critter that lives in them. So I set up a little meeting with him and his posse, and hopefully they'll teach us a little something that'll help us catch a squatch.
You know, the last time we were in Kentucky, we were further south, but everywhere we went, we were always hearing about Ernie the Turtle Man, and everybody says, nobody knows the Kentucky woods better than you. I figure you have to have some Bigfoot stories.
Oh, yeah, I got one big story. I was a little kid at one time when I was 9 years old. It was August the 15th, 1974, 6 o'clock in the morning. I love squirrel hunting, so I went out in the woods. I was going to my favorite hickory tree. I got about halfway there, and this thing roars out at me, and like, roar! Down on the ground, I just, boom, shot towards where I thought it would be at. And this is when it started breaking these tree limbs and pulling them up by the root, these little saplings, and throwing them at me.
How big were they?
About the size of this stick. You know, that's a pretty good size piece of wood. You can't pull it up out of the ground. I stood up this time, and I said, I'm serious! I'm going to shoot!
I'm gonna shoot ya!
I am going to shoot you! And it roared out again, and that's when I shot. So I probably hit it in the kneecaps or somewhere around the feet.
At any time, did you ever, get an idea of how big it was? Could you see any of it?
And this thing here stood up 10 feet tall. You could see it moving. I mean, it just like this, just running after me, like it, making big leaps, and it was gaining on me. I mean, it wouldn't have been for the fence, I think it would have caught me, but.
The classic Bigfoot behavior is to not hurt you, but to scare the living hell out of you and drive you out.
Woohoo! He did that. It worked on me, buddy. I ain't never forgot it. But I went back down there, and on the splinters, it had this hair on it. So I collected it.
We actually had it tested.
I gotta see this.
Yeah.
As I'm looking at this hair that Turtle Man told me he collected from this encounter during his youth, I'm not really sure what to think. They say that it's been independently tested by 2 labs, and it's an unknown primate. Now, I think the Turtle Man isn't pulling my leg, but right now, I really don't know what to think.